Hello, this is John Tigg. I'm the superintendent of Franklin West Supervisory Union, serving the students of Fairfax, Fletcher, and Georgia. This particular video is for the residents of Fletcher. We're going to talk about class size, staffing, Act 73, and other data and results. Where does your money go and how, what are the outcomes from your budget? It's easy for me to say. Ready to start moving right along to the next slide. So when we talk about class size at Fletcher, we're just going to look at the number of students that we anticipate in each class next year versus what that does for the class size and how that compares to Act 73's mandating class size minimums. So kindergarten does not have a Act 73 class size minimum. We have 8 students. We'll have one kindergarten teacher, so the class size will be 8. That's pretty easy on most of these. First grade, 10 students, one teacher, 10 students in the class, compares favorably to the Act 73 minimum. 12 students in first grade compared to the 12 students required, 17 in third grade. That'll be one class, and there'll be 17 students, which is above the class size minimum for that particular group, and not so much above that we could add a second section, 13 fourth graders. And then when we get into the fifth and sixth, we will have a combined fifth, sixth grade next year with one teacher. So that'll make that class size 19, which is above the class size minimum for, in this case, it'll be the fifth grade. Whenever we have a combined class, we're able to use the lower number. So either way, we'd be okay with that, but separating them out, we would be below the class size minimum. So that's the structure that we'll be looking at. And as groups of students move through and bubbles and things, we make those adjustments to multi-age classrooms as we go through. But for right now, we're doing well in terms of meeting class size minimums. Staffing ratio, the staffing ratio at Fletcher, 105 students, 26 staff members. That includes all of our teachers, office workers, nurses, librarians, UA teachers, administrators, custodians. I may have said that already. It doesn't include our bus drivers and our cafeteria workers because they're not actually technically employed by us. So Fletcher staffing ratio is a 4.03 students per one staff. That is a little bit below the state average of 4.4, certainly below the Northeast average. It's hard with a small school that, one staff member one way or another, or a couple kids one way or another, has a drastic impact on those staffing ratios. As a supervisory union, we tend to be, we are doing quite well there. Our FWSU staffing ratio 4.66 to 1 compared to the state average. This is for FY24, 3.63. You can see we always tend to hover right around that, mid 4s to 5 range. There is only one supervisory union in the state that has a higher ratio than Franklin West. That's this SAU 70, which is a combined interstate group that is somewhere down in I think in the Norwich area. So there's no magic to whether 4 is a good number, bad number. It's a little below the state average, which is something that we want to just consider as we move forward. Nothing magical about the 4.66 other than that we're on the right side of the average. So that's good news for us. So what's all this staffing and all of the class sizes result in? One of the measures is the VT cap assessment. And if you got some graphs that will show you how we compare to the state. So this blue line that I'm following right there, that is our average number of proficient in Fletcher over the course of the last 4 years. You can see it's an upward climbing line. The state average is this red line that kind of goes to there and then sort of levels off. So we've been exceeding the state average for the past 2 to 3 years in English language arts. Next one is science. This is this orange line, and it went up, and then it went down, and the state line sort of went up and kind of leveled across. So, for whatever reason, we have had a little bit of a decline in the science, where the state is leveled off. Our math scores have been sort of on a slightly, let's see, where are we here, and then dip, and then we go back up. So we've sort of hovered around the state average, and now it looks like we've rebounded to be above the state average, which is this green line is the state average. So the VT cap is an assessment that's given once a year. It's about 3 hours worth of testing, gives us information about how our students are doing compared to the state. We tend to exceed the state averages, at least in the English language arts, and all 4 grades that take the English language arts. Our proficient and above. The green and the blue bars is above the state average combined in all four grades in English language arts. Similarly, in 3 out of the 4 grades in mathematics, we've exceeded the state average on this VKE cap assessment. So again, it's an assessment that's once a year. It's a kind of a broad stroke. Here's the science assessment as well, and we were a little below the state average on that one, which our last graph also showed. So, one-time test. What we do is we do assess our students 3 times a year in using the STAR assessment data. And this is data that's fairly current from this fall and this winter. You'll see our kindergarteners who take the early literacy, 60% of them were proficient in the fall, 67% were proficient in the spring, so making progress. And even a level like this one's almost level. Is an indication of some level of progress because as the year goes on, the criteria to become proficient does increase. So like 44 to 43 is kind of almost an even piece, which shows a little bit of growth. Our winter compared in our grade 1, we were 5 out of 5. And what happens in grades kindergarten 1 is students are either taking this early literacy or they're taking the regular reading. And so their first grade is like combination of this numbers and this numbers, but our students that took the reading in first grade were 100% proficient. So that maintained close to level, stayed maintained, increase. So again, this is an assessment that we give. We get data about how our students did, what type of work they need, so that we can provide intervention to help them grow, which is what happens. And you'll see that as we look from fall to winter to spring in this data. Then last year, we didn't have any students that needed additional supports based on the results of these assessments as required by Act 139. So the work that we do in literacy, the consistency of our instructional practices pays off, and our students become excellent readers over the time that they are in Fletcher School. Here's some math data, and again, showing some significant jumps in our proficiency from fall to winter. You can see, like, again, even level is an indication of growth because it's harder to be proficient in the winter compared to the fall, and it's harder still in the spring. So seeing growth across all of it, and we've invested some professional development time with our teachers to not standardize, but to come up with best practices for math instruction, and that is translating to students being able to understand better and to able to demonstrate that on these assessments and in other areas. So that's just some data about where our students are doing in Fletcher in terms of all of the things that we just talked about. You were listening, so I don't need to repeat. We've done the Vermont's education funding system. You can check that one out. Long-term weighted average daily membership. What's that? There's a video for that. And the next video we'll put out will be a budget overview. So all the details of this year's budget. And the final one will be the tax calculation and how it impacts your household. I appreciate you taking the time to watch these. Voting information, early voting begins February 11th. If you or a family member will be out of town on the town meeting day, request an early ballot at your town office and you can vote right away. The budget information meeting is Monday, February 23rd. That's different than usual. It's at the Fletcher School. We anticipate it'll be right after the town presentation, thinking 6:45, 7 o'clock, and voting day is all day on March 3rd at the town clerk's office. Appreciate you taking the time to watch. Please, if you have questions or comments, please attend a school board meeting, come to the information meeting, and or email us. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.